YouTube channel, back in the workshop with a live stream, many live streams. Today is a live stream with a difference. It is not the fact that we haven't got a pie. We've done that before where, through logistics, places that I go to, we've already eaten all the pies, literally. No cigarettes. I have run out of cigarettes. God damn it! Anyway, happy Sunday and happy Father's Day if you're here in New Zealand, because it's Father's Day. Benjamin, my lad, I think has just sent me a message. Let's have a look. What does he say? Ooh, 2 messages from Benjamin. Happy Father's Day, Shrek. He calls me Shrek. I don't know why. When are you coming back to Auckland next? I have some bits in my workshop I could use to get a small job out of the way, if you can bring them up. Not next week. No, Monday I've got off actually tomorrow, which is really nice. The original plan was to go and pick up the timber for the deck, the house deck at the back, which I'm going to be building soon. But we could only afford at the time the timber for the framing and the posts that go into the ground. So that was about, I don't know, $1,500, $1,400 from memory. So I paid for that. We got a quote. The lad does, Travis, his name is, does me a really good deal on the timber. It's a lot cheaper than in Auckland, believe me. And it's not bad gear, to be fair. So he gave me a quote for the deck planks for the top, and it was I just couldn't quite afford it at the time. So I said, look, we'll have it, but I'll have to come back down and get that. So, but I made a decision now. Got some, had a few more jobs come in, so there's a bit more money coming through soon, hopefully, where we're going to pay for the deck timber and then go and pick all of it up at once. So now, tomorrow, which I took as a day of leave, which was a driving day, isn't a driving day anymore. It's just an in the workshop day, and I think probably a couple of hours of editing as well. I went down last Saturday. I was in Auckland Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I had to stay in Auckland Friday night because it was a late finish. So on the Saturday, I called in at the lad that owns the tractor. Remember the steering box? Yes, the rant. Apologies, but I was a bit upset, to be fair. And I think rightly so, after all the work we put in. Anyway, not to worry. Let's not dwell on that. So I called in at his farm because he wanted me to do some work on the tractor, on what I call the final drive, where the differential is and all the other gears and stuff, just downstream of the gearbox. There was a damaged casting in there. So we filmed it on site. It's a little bit different kind of video. I'm about 3/4 of the way through editing it now, so that should go out in the next week or so, hopefully. Just bear with me, because it's very difficult when you're filming on site, and all I had was my little tiny tripod. It was sort of a last-minute thing to film it, to be fair. The weather was great. There was good lighting and everything. I thought, well, we should do this, really. But it wasn't the kind of video where it was all step by step, because I'd never done that kind of work before. And we were against the clock. So you're a bit more of a fly on the wall, but there's a bit of interaction with the camera as well. So, let me know what you think once it comes out. Okay, let me get the old live stream fired up, and then we'll see who's in the workshop. Yes! Okay, here we go. I'll turn the volume down because I was watching videos a minute ago. Off we go. Boom! Now, just for reference, I'm going to start my... after I've done my initial hello, we're going to have a quick look, because we've got new internet, right? We've got fiber. So I thought it'd be quite cool just to quickly run through what the speeds are at the start of each live stream. So download 271 megabytes a second, and upload a staggering 403 megabytes per second. Phenomenal. So very, very happy with that. It's I'm monitoring the whole fiber thing, because as more and more people go on, onto the fiber in this area, I'm hoping it doesn't drop off, and go back to what it used to be, or not be much good. Looking at the picture, and I can't tell the audio, you have to tell me, but it looks pretty good, and it should be for that kind of bandwidth. Is that what you call it? Speed? I don't know what it is. It's just internet stuff, right? Jim K, hello. Good morning, Jim. I need to talk to you. Happy Father's Day. Thank you very much, Jim. Jim, you recently sent me a package, or Mr. Clarkson will say an package. Hasn't arrived. Don't know where it is. I'd have thought it'd be here by now, so we need to investigate. So yeah, if you can maybe contact me tomorrow, I'll make sure I've got my work phone with me, and we'll sort that out. Or email today if you want. My work phone's in the office, so I won't hear that ring. JJ, morning Andy and crew. Good morning, JJ. Welcome back to the workshop. Oh my word, what's this? Heterogeneity rocks. Okay, fair enough. Dropping in, but we'll be running in the background. Cheers. Very good. Welcome to the workshop. Connor K. Oh, all the regulars are in today, look. Connor K, morning Andy and crew. Just started watching the 2 new videos you posted during the last few days. Not finished yet. The engine stand is really coming together. Thank you, Connor. It really is. You're watching videos which were filmed and the work done a few weeks ago. My backlog has been in the editing, and I did a massive push this last week. I was down in Greytown, in the southern, almost the southern, well, it is the southern part of the North Island here in New Zealand. And I used Greytown as a base. There's a very nice hotel there called the White Swan Hotel. Amazing rooms, really good service, great food. Not a sponsor, could be if they want to be, but reasonably priced. So I stay there, use that as a base, and I've got visits to do in Upper Hutt, which is just north of Wellington. So that's south of Greytown. Carterton, just north of Greytown, a few Ks, that's all, 3 or 4 miles. Palmerston North, which is where I call in on the Monday on the way down, and then Dannevirke on the way when I'm heading home. Call Dannevirke on the Thursday, back to Taupo, stay alive on the 5, into Taupo. So it wasn't too bad. Very nice stay, great food, well looked after, I must admit. So I was away doing that, and I made a concerted effort on the evenings to edit up the videos. Long nights, but I did actually, make quite a significant imprint on, or headway, good one, headway on the outstanding editing. So it's a problem, a 1 hour video, and I know some of my videos have been pretty long, right? I'm sorry, but a 1 hour video can take about 4 hours to edit. If you then want to make that 1 hour video a 45-minute video, you can stick another couple of hours on there to edit, just to keep condensing down and condensing down. I don't have, unfortunately, the liberty to edit and re-edit and re-edit and, shorten things down each time. It just doesn't work. Sorry, apologies. There is a fast forward button if you want to use it. Mike Adams, hello, Andy and crew. Good morning, Mike. Welcome back to the workshop, matey. Okay, there is no pie. My sincere apologies. Mrs. Mechanic might pop in with some breakfast soon. Hint. Ding. Who knows? Maybe a fresh coffee as well would be nice. So, as all you know, I've been working on the engine stand. The engine stand I haven't worked on for the last couple of weekends. Hear me out. I had a couple of crates to build. Yesterday, I built one yesterday. And prepped the item to go in the crate. Took me pretty much all day, to be honest, to find the timber, make the crate. It's all ready to go. We'll get it shipped on Monday, tomorrow, at some point somewhere. But it does, everything takes time, and that kind of thing takes priority, But also, the previous weekend, as you know, I've been working on a mount system for an electric winch to go on my 2 trailers. Now, I'm focused on the small trailer at the moment. The small trailer is currently up in Auckland. I had planned to, what did it go to Auckland? Oh, I had to take back the ROV, that's right. So I decided to leave the trailer in Auckland, and it's there. Luckily, before it went back, I'd made the frame that permanently bolts to the trailer chassis. So I've been able to work on this winch cradle system since then without needing the trailer. So let me show you. It's a sneaky peek. I'm not filming this, by the way. I thought, well, we've done a lot of fabrication recently, right? With the engine stand and stuff. So I've not filmed the fabrication side of doing the winch, but I will be filming the wiring side of it. I think it's very important. A lot of people fit winches these days, and with this not being on a vehicle, being on a steel frame, it's very easy to see all the wiring. I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to do a video showing how to wire up an electric winch and the solenoid pack, or contactor block, I think as they call it in the US, because you can see all the wiring. It's very, very simple, and I can cover the do's and don'ts and the kind of stuff that you should be aware of when you're doing it. So yeah, let's have a quick look and see how I got on. It's not quite finished yet though. Okay, turn around, 3, 2, 1, boom. Okay, here we go. So at the moment, the winch is just sat on the top. The bolt holes are all done. That will just bolt straight onto there. Very nice. The batteries, in fact, if I go around here, the battery that I wanted to use, and I don't have any, is a side-by-side battery up there, look. Okay, so it's been designed with that in mind, but at the moment, I don't have one, okay? So, what I'm going to use for now is 3 of these. These are YTZ10S by Yuasa. So they're all going to, oh geez, let's shut it out, Andy. They're going to sort of sit in there. There's one on charge at the moment. Crash. And these batteries have been tested. There's the one on charge. 3 of those will fit in there. I think that'll be fine. All I need is enough juice to winch the lathe onto the trailer, and I'm pretty confident that these 3 will be able to do that. Once we get the ROV battery in there, the side-by-side battery, then I think, and I could actually fit a bigger one. I've made it, it's quite large. I'm just conscious of the overall weight, battery, frame, winch, all that kind of stuff. Now, originally, Roger, if you're around, Roger said to me, hey, Andy, why don't you do it receiver hitch style? And originally, I didn't. I had, this was in the vertical orientation, and this side extended further down. So if you imagine that whole thing vertically like this, and then it slid into these 2 bits of box section. Now, there was a problem with that. A, the box section has a pretty nasty lip on the inside, which was proving to be rather a problem. And B, keeping the distance accurately between these 2 bits of box section so that they aligned perfectly with these 2 bits of box section was proving a bit of a problem, to be honest, especially with that additional ridge inside there, you see, look. So, and I actually really wanted to do a receiver hitch style to start off with, but I couldn't find the spare receiver hitch that I had. Well, after the last discussions, I managed to find some box section, which is the same size as the receiver hitch stuff. So, and that's all I had. That one little tiny piece there, look. So, boom, it's done. I've marked up the hole for the pin. So it's going to use a standard tow bar pin for locking that in. That'll go through there with the R clip. So it's all very standardized. Now, could this winch be used on the back of a car or back of my ute to winch something up? Yes, it could be, provided you took the hook off on the winch, and then fed the cable through the rear on this side, and it would work just fine. I've done that deliberately. Will I ever need to do that? Probably not. Could I use it on the back of the Jimny? Yes, I could actually. It would be if we haven't got the winch on the front, it gives you a bit of versatility, I suppose. And all I need to do then is make another one of these frames, slightly different mounting points to go on the large trailer. And then this winch can then be switched between each trailer, as and when needed. The other benefit is when it's not needed, it's out of the rain, it can be unhitched, it's secure. I can keep it in the back of the ute or bring it back in the workshop. So I'm actually really chuffed with this. I did have a bit of I think last night, though, while I was asleep, the current plan for all the electrics is to have the contactor block on the side there, look. So I'm trying to minimize the length of the cabling, right, on the side, and then the lance plug in there like that. And I think that's not bad. You know, it all looks pretty good. It's working pretty well. But then I've got the isolation switch. Now, I strongly recommend you always fit an isolation switch whenever you've got a winch, because sometimes the contactor block can crap out and it can end up continuing to spool in, and you need some way of disconnecting the power immediately. And don't think about trying to undo wires and bolts and stuff with spanners, because you won't have time. So my plan was to mount this initially on the side like that, but it does somewhat impede inside the battery area, so I wasn't too chuffed about that. And the other thing is, we know that these are not waterproof. We've proved that. You've seen the videos. They are bad, to be perfectly honest. They are not a good design at all, in my opinion. There are worse designs out there, but there are better ones as well. So I think what's going to happen is I'm going to take this plate back off. That's the beauty of steel, isn't it? You can just grind stuff off and clean it up and away you go. And then enclose the relay, the socket for the lance, and the isolation switch on like a panel, basically a box, an enclosure, which will sit at a bit of an angle and can be unbolted. It would need to be unbolted because you need to have access to get the battery out, if you have had to get the battery out. So there'll be a couple of brackets off the side here. There'll be an aluminium box, similar kind of stuff to that aluminium that I used up there, look. Some kind of box. That's my plan. If I'm going to do that, I have to get it done today, because this needs to be basically finished. Sharpish. What else did I get? So I went to... I'll give the lads a shout out now. It's going to be in the video as well, but, you know, why not? He gave me his card. Bear with me. There we are, look. So these guys, very, very helpful chaps indeed. AED Autocraft. They're based in Palmerston North. Went to go and see them, and I needed, to do this job, I needed some more eyelets. So I got various sizes, 6, 10, and 8. Okay, so to give you an idea of cost, I think there's 10 in each packet. So that's 8mm. They're all for the same wire size, which is the correct size, whatever this is. 8mm, 10mm, 6mm. So essentially 30 eyelets. Solder in, crimp in, solder and crimp, whenever you want. Total cost, including tax, $22.17, which I felt was an extremely good price, to be perfectly honest. Extremely good. So very, very happy with that. And we've got all we need. We can do a professional installation now, you see, which is what it's all about. Okay, I think you've seen the rest of that. Oh, Jimny freewheeling hubs. I had to get some of these conical washers. Can you see them in there? You can't see them in there, can you? Hang on. Let me make some space and we'll have a look. Don't look at the go-kart. Don't look at the go-kart. It's still here, isn't it? Right, so if I open that bag up. So these are genuine Suzuki. You can get them off AliExpress for, you know, a fraction of the price. But Andy, being an advocate for genuine parts, and these will be actually made by Patron, who make the hubs, I imagine. But there you go. That's what they look like. They've got a little split in one side, because as they tighten down, they have to compress into the hub. So hang on, bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. I know it's a strange live stream. Ugh. Okay. So some time ago, Gonna make a mess now, aren't we? Some time ago, I don't know if you're aware of this or not. I can't remember if I even shown you. I purchased a set of freewheeling hubs for the Jimny, the poo turtle we call it. I call it poo turtle anyway. And these were sent to me by a company in Australia, and they were not cheap, right? Not cheap. You've got to have the adapter plates as well, because the Jimnys are not really designed to have freewheeling hubs. See, they sell these as part of the kit. So bear that in mind. This is a kit, right? A kit that you buy. All right, so that's the freewheeling hub there, look. And those conical washers, hang on, bear with me. We'll take one out of the bag. You know where they go. Oh, jeez. Okay, so these conical washers have to go in there like that, right? Pretty simple. And then you have a cap head high tensile bolt that goes through this. Oh, geez, the spacer goes on there like that. And then obviously the bolt goes into the hub, right? Easy. But I've got to actually measure up how long the bolts need to be, because next problem, right? This is what they sent, and they're going to get a rant. I know it's like 2 years ago, and I'm even getting that I bought these things. God. Okay, there we go. Right. So they sent me these, right? I did start a video on this, and I realised what they sent me. And bearing in mind, this kit was like $800 or something stupid. It was very expensive. Okay, so they sent me these little cap heads. Fair enough, understood. All right, maybe they're the right length, maybe they're not. I don't think they are. And then rather than the conical washers, which are a bit more expensive, they sent just normal lock washers. Hang on, here, look, these things. That was a joke. That's never going to work. It needs to be one of them. Naughty people. You know, I mean, can you imagine trying to... I mean, where's the lock washer going to lock? Because it's tapered. It's not going to work, is it? It's just going to sit over there like that. It's just wrong, is what that is. Anyway, I'll tidy that up later on. But yeah, bit of a rant. Sorry. It is what it is, isn't it? So, all I have to do now is offer that up to the Jeep, measure the depth in the hub for the bolt, and then we are good to go. They don't, because I'm not going to use those. I'll get some different ones. But yeah, muppets, absolute muppets. For that kind of money as well, and I went to all the trouble of, you know, finding the best place to buy them from. You know, the reviews and everything turned out to be crap. I'll get rid of that box. Don't need that. Okay, we will chuck all of those in there. We will chuck that in there. Okay, we're good. Okay, a bit more organised. Okay, what else? That's probably about it there. We're good on that one. Winchy. Ah, yes. Okay. Another winch. So this is a mechanically driven winch from the gearbox on the Nissan Patrols. Ben's got a few of these now. He's been collecting them. I don't know why he's got so many, but anyway. This is the full winch kit. You've got the drive shaft, right? And that drive shaft connects to this unit, which bolts onto the side of the gearbox. Not the transfer box, the gearbox. So you can use, you've got all 5 gears and reverse to use on your winch. Pretty cool. There's a handle that goes inside the cab to connect and disconnect your winch, because obviously, you know, you don't want to use your winch all the time when you're driving down the road. And it has a little lock on it as well. You can see there, look, it's got a lock. This thing just rotates 90 degrees to the right to allow the lever to move. At the moment it's locked, and you've got to undo the wing nuts to move it. Old school design, right? But very cool. And of course there's a cable that goes between the two. In the UK, Nissan GB denied that these were even supplied by Nissan. They were factory fit in Australia. and they were in the service manual. But when I asked them, hey, I'd like to buy one of those, please, they said, I'm sorry, they don't exist. What? But there it is. Nissan GB, you are wrong. And we've got 4, if not 5 of them now, for some reason. Anyway, there's no point showing you the engine stand because you've seen it right up to where it is now. It is going a bit rusty though. Mrs. Mechanic's going to have a bit of fun cleaning that up, isn't she? Hey? Keep her busy. She's going to be sanding the wood today. That's the plan. Right, back to the bench. We've got lots of comments to go through. Turning around, 3, 2, 1, boom. Hopefully the height's about right. Oh yeah, that'll work. Okay. Where do we get to? Oh, here we go. We've got lots. I've been rambling on. And you lot have been doing loads of comments. Mike Adams, it takes 4 hours to edit one video. One can only imagine the work and time it takes for movie and TV crews for their work. Yeah, I mean, that's how long it takes me to edit a video. My editing is extremely basic. I only have one camera, so it's a lot easier to follow the timeline. Basically, I just chuck the next rush, we call it, the next piece to camera in, the next bit, next video, and usually chop the start, chop the end, and sort the volume out. Relatively simple, but I have to listen to everything because sometimes there are retakes, not very often, but there are. Sometimes, you know, there's problems with the clip, so you've got to actually watch the whole thing. Mrs. Mechanic, on the other hand, she does the workshop diaries. Emma edits those for me. I don't have time for those. And they're only, what, half an hour long, 20 minutes long? She'll spend days, maybe 2 days, maybe 3 days editing that one little video because she does lots of little other stuff and graphics and bits and pieces, puts music on and that kind of thing. So, you know, that kind of stuff does take a lot longer. Movies, if you watch the credits at the end and you'll see the editing team, there's, on the big movies, there are hundreds of people. It's just mind-blowing. But it is all in the editing, right? Good editing can make a big difference to how good a movie is. Simon, morning Andy and crew. Good morning, Mr. Rawl. Welcome back to the workshop. Richard Perry, hi Andy and crew. Sorry I'm a bit late. It's all right, Richard. Don't panic. We're all good there. Mike Adams, sorry I'm late on the winch party, but what's the load limit on it? Ah, okay. That winch is a £4,500 pull winch, not lift, pull. Similar to the winch up in the workshop, actually. I think that one's a £4,500. Pretty good, actually. Pretty powerful. That's a brand new one, by the way. Ben's got a new one in his workshop, and I've got loads of broken ones and a couple more that I fixed. So I've got plenty of winches. I think we were looking at, obviously we want to the original plan was to put a winch on the front of the little Jimny, right? However, winches are pretty expensive. I've got a monstrous £16,000 pull electric winch that came off my Patron. It really is a beast of a winch. A bit slow, but it's very, very powerful. That winch is way too big to go on the front of a Suzuki Jimny, so it just can't. It's not an option. We've got winches to fit to the Larry the Carry, the little Suzuki Carry, front and rear, and maybe even side winches as well, depending on how many of these I can get fixed up. We've got an adventure planned at some point in the future. I don't know when it's going to be. I've got decks to build and stuff yet before we can do any of that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, so on the Jimny, it might have 2 at the front. I don't know. Because, you know, £4,500 pull per winch, that's £9,000 a pull if you use them both together. One of these winches on its own won't be enough for the Jimny. It's too small. You really want a £7,000, £8,000 pull winch on that kind of vehicle size. You always want a winch that's above the job. You know, you never want to be stressing them out because they're pretty. You can damage them pretty easy anyway. They can overheat and stuff. Anyway, where do we get to? Jim Haynes. Good morning, Jim. Another Jim. Mr. Haynes. Hit the like button already, even though Zero was late, lots of away work and road service today. Oh my word. I think O is I, typo. Even though I was late, lots of away work and road service today. Thank you, Jim, for letting us know. I was away all last week as well. I say all last week. I got home Thursday night, so I had Friday working from home, which was good, actually. It was nice just to be grounded for a day and get caught up. But I know it's like to be away from home a lot. In the last 12 months, here's a stat for you. In the last 12 months, up until, not including this last week, so rolling 12 months up until end of August, right? 136 nights away from home. Now you think, well, that's only a third of a year, Andy. Well, it is, but there isn't 365 working days a year. It's about 220 odd, I think it is. It works out to be 230 odd working days a year. I forget. I knew you used to know the number, I've forgotten. So it's more than half of the working days. It's a lot. 136 nights away in a hotel somewhere. Oh, living it up, Andy, you say. Well, yeah, but I'm not at home, and it's amazing how many little jobs you get done when, after work, when you get home. Go into the garage, do an hour or so before tea, whatever. I can't do any of that stuff because I'm on the road away. So I have to try and be more productive in other areas and edit the videos and things. Simon, what about an outboard style pull cord stop instead of the isolator switch? Saves a lot of space. It's a good idea. The isolator switch carries the current to the winch. It's not just to turn off the trigger circuit of the contactor block. It has to be rated for the current, at least for the current of the winch. That one, the Hella ones, are rated for 100 amps. That switch actually has a little bit of sentimental value as well. It's the isolator switch that we used in the Nissan Patrol. Now, it wasn't rated enough in the Patrol to be in circuit for the power supply for the starter, the heavy load side. For the starter motor, it was actually too small. It wouldn't carry the current. We were getting too much volt drop. The Patrol engines take an awful lot of current to fire up to get them turning. So on the Patrol, we used that for the power supply to the fuse box. So it was just a security thing in the Patrol. But I wanted it in all of our little Suzuki Jeeps, not the Patrols so much, but in all of our Suzuki Jeeps in the UK, we had on the fleets, and we had at one time nearly about 30 of them before we switched to Nissan Patrols. They all had the isolation switch in. So all the keys for all of our vehicles had an aluminium tab with the vehicle's name on, and they all had names. It had the ignition key, and it had on the dog clip, it had the red key. So you'd take the red key off the dog clip, put it into the isolation switch, turn it on, put the key in the ignition, and fire it up. And it worked brilliantly. It was really, really good. A bit of work, obviously, wiring those into all of our vehicles together with the CB radios and that kind of thing. But we got pretty quick at it. So I want to reuse that isolation switch. So yeah, it does take a bit of room. But I think putting everything in an enclosure, and I quite enjoy making aluminium boxes into an enclosure, will just keep everything neat and tidy, as Norbit would say of Wallace and Gromit. Neat and tidy, But hey, it might all change. You might decide later on, stuff it, I can't be asked to do an enclosure. Plus, if it's an enclosure, it makes it harder to see the wiring on the video. So, I don't know. We'll see. Here we go. Mike Adams. Could you box in and wire in a throw switch somewhere for an emergency disconnect? Could you box in and wire in a throw switch? Oh, you mean box in the whole battery compartment? Don't really want to do that, really. It was never, the design was never to do that. The battery was supposed to be exposed and easy to get to. Again, once it's got the RRV battery in there, then it might be possible to use jump leads off the car as well if it needs a bit of a boost. You know, if things start to run a bit low. Simon, are the bolts with that kit stainless? Look it. If so, not good either. No, they're just plated. They're not stainless bolts. Those cap heads. No, I won't use stainless. Stainless would be too brittle, I think, for that kind of stuff. Jim Haynes, and it might go up as well in the hub. We don't want that. Most standard Japanese made four-wheel drives from 100 have washers like those lock washers that go between the nut and the cone washer. Is that what I have seen over the years? That's what I've seen over the years. On the Patrol, that has freewheeling hubs on it. We took a freewheeling hub off to use the hub for the engine stand. That, I don't think, I'll have to go and check the side, actually. I don't think it had the lock washers and the cones, but if it did, then I'll use the lock washers and the cones. All the drive to each of the front wheels goes through those freewheeling hubs, and it's critical that the bolts are tight and correctly installed. The last thing you want is a freewheeling hub breaking loose and starting to chatter on your hub. You know, it's going to damage the hub and we'll probably need replacement, and Suzuki parts are not cheap. Those cones, wait for it, right? $17 each. There's 12 of them, and I did get a couple of spare ones. $17 each cone. Yes, I could have got them off AliExpress, but probably nowhere near as good quality. And they're under a lot of stress, you know, so got to do it right. No wonder I'm poor and can't afford cigarettes at the moment. Anyway, oh, it's raining. It was raining yesterday as well. Jim Haynes, most on that one. Wade Mayer. Hi, Andy and crew. Just popped on to say howdy. Busy manning our booth at the local county fair. You can't beat county fairs. I like county fairs. There's usually lots of food stands at county fairs. Hot dogs and, I don't know, more hot dogs and waffles. Waffles with cream and stuff. They're nice. Roger Heaps, good morning, Andy and crew. Well, now we've got Roger on board. I'm going to show Roger what I've done because he won't have seen this bit yet. Turn around, 3, 2, 1, boom! Okay, Roger, now that you're back on board, I changed the design to a receiver hitch for you. How's that look? Pretty cool. I didn't think I had this box section, but I found it in the end, so we're all good. Happy with that? See, honestly, it's going to work a lot better, I think, as well. So, good idea. I'm pleased that you made me do that. Right, turning around, 3, 2, 1, boom. Okay, lots of turning around. Don't fall off. Okay, where do we get to? Simon. It's the Durham County Show tomorrow. It'll be a good day. It will. I lost my wedding ring in Durham. There you go. Got me into a lot of trouble. We were going up north to Scotland and we stayed in Durham. And I left my wedding ring at the bed and breakfast. I took it off. I wanted to wash my hands. We did get it back, thank God. But yeah, got left there. Donkey. Roger Heaps looks awesome. I think it'll do the trick, Roger. I'm very happy with it. I just need to get it finished today. Mrs. Mechanic's going to give it a clean up. She can start actually on the frame that bolts the trailer. That's pretty much done. There's just a couple of, I'll finish that off first. You can see there's a couple of little caps on the end of the box section to seal it up, top and bottom, and then she's good to go. And she's got some timber to sand on the engine stand as well. So, got a work cut out, to be fair. For Giant. Good evening, Andy and crew. Hope all is well. Yes, not too bad. It's a bit cold this morning, and now it's started to rain as well. It's going to be another wet day. Yesterday was spent the whole day was spent building a crate to put a component in that's getting shipped away. Had to be done. Big job. Some of the time was spent finding the timber and deciding what timber to use, but we got there in the end. It's all packed up, ready to go now, so I'm very pleased about that. Be a very happy customer, I'm sure. So today is no work on the engine stand. I don't think. I'm just going to be working on the winch project for the trailer. Not too sure when I'm collecting the lathe. I messaged the lad on Friday. Got a message back Saturday. The problem is where this workshop is. There's only one big roller door, and the roller door goes out to a canopy area, like a carport area, and under the carport, the woodworking part of the training is still, the schooling is still going on, and they've got some big chunks of timber there which they're doing some carving on, so I can't get the trailer up to the roller door. There's just no access at the moment. Once they've finished all this carving work, then it'll be quite simple. Back the trailer in, even unhitch it, get to within 10 feet of where the lathe is, and then hey presto, we can just get it loaded up. So that's just gonna have to wait. It has taken the pressure off getting the winch finished, but I just want to get the winch finished so that it's done. I can then do a bit of a test on it to make sure it's going to be good, and then I can get back on with the engine stand, because Ben really wants the engine stand finishing. So yeah, there's a bit going on at the moment. I keep getting pulled off on all these other little projects, and I want to get the engine stand finished. Partly because it takes up a shitload of room in the workshop, and I want to see it work. I've got some milling to do, some machining to do with the milling machine. Say it properly, Andy. I've got a 12mm end mill, and I've got to get some of that real thick 25mm thick plate that we used for the big plate, and I've got to mill out some slots all the way through, right? Some slots. So we're going to make the arms that bolt the big plate to the engine. So that'd be really cool. Looking forward to doing that, but I can't do that until I've finished the winch. And really, I need to move the mill to do the work, because I need to be able to move the bed, and I can't move the bed where it is. And to move the mill, I need to make a frame and replace the casters, because the casters have all collapsed. I can see one of them now, which is just practically falling off. So another little job. Yeah, a job that I wanted doing ages ago, but I now need to get it done. I'm pretty sure I've got some more casters that'll do the trick. But anyway, okay, so that's the day on the winch. Next week, I'm working from home. Well, Monday I've got off, which is great. Tomorrow I'll be in the workshop again, and I've got to go out and get that parcel, that crate shipped. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm working from home in the office. Saturday, Sunday. Oh, Ben's coming down Wednesday night, so Ben will be here as well. He'll be here for the weekend, so there'll be another workshop diary, no doubt, being filmed as well. Hopefully I'll have the engine stand finished by the end of that weekend. That's the plan. And then the following week I have to go up to Auckland, and that was the week I was hoping to collect the lathe, but I can't now. He's told me that they're not going to get the carvings finished. So as long as I get the lathe picked up before I go to the South Island, which is early November, I think it is, I go, then I'm fine. Because at the end of the day, I've got to make room for it. I think it's going to have to go in that corner. I'm going to lose a bench. But to be fair, that bench is just covered in bits of metal. The valve grinding machine, which I've got to find somewhere else for. All the stuff under the bench. The MIG won't be able to live there anymore either. So it's a bit of a problem, but we'll work it out somehow. And then once the lathe's in, I can see if I've got enough room for the pillar drill somewhere. It's going to require a bit of shuffling, probably a whole weekend, just shuffling the workshop around to get everything in, but we'll make it work. So that really is about it for this Sunday. I can't think of much else, unless you've got any questions. Mm. Holy crap, cold, really cold coffee. Nice. Honey, if you're listening, I'll have another coffee, please, and some toast. Toast would be good. Bigger the workshop, the more stuff you collect. Well, yeah. And the problem is, Simon, that I'm still collecting the stuff, but the workshop's not getting any bigger. Um, I'm looking forward to getting the air compressors out of here and getting the sandblasting cabinet out of here and getting all the woodworking gear out of here. And then it's sort of more metalworking in here. More space. But I don't know, I just keep filling it up. But it's all right. You know, we're making it work. It does the trick. It really does. Okay, it's going to be a short live stream, people. It really is. There's no pie. There's no cigarettes, unfortunately. That's not ideal, is it, really? So, watch out for the next video. Mrs. Mechanic has edited up 3 more workshop diaries that are all uploaded to the channel now, and they'll be released in the future. And I think 1 every 2 weeks will be a reasonable time frame for us to try and keep up with. I know there haven't been any for a while. It's because, yeah, well, I can't say, but there's been all sorts going on in the background. Watch out for the video working on the tractor on site. Bit of field work, we call it. Site work. That was actually quite a cool day, and thank you to Thomas, who was helping us that day. A real help. Thomas was the lad that stripped. They have a donor tractor they got given. That stripped the donor tractor with the customer. So his knowledge was really helpful coming to strip this one. He'd already been there. I was really just another pair of hands, doing a bit of filming, and provided a bit more knowledge to the rebuild, I think. Critical knowledge to the rebuild. So hopefully you'll see that in the video. I'm still editing that one. It's not finished yet. That one hopefully will be out in the next week to 10 days. I'm about 3/4 of the way through, so it's not too bad. Connor K, you drilled bolt holes into the thick steel in the engine stand videos. Why didn't you use cutting fluid? I will tell you, that was a very good question, Connor, and I would have normally done that. However, I'd run out. Yes. And, you know, hadn't gone to get any more. So my sincere apologies. Normally I would. And, you know, I'm a huge advocate of using cutting fluid and cutting oil. And I really like the spray foam. It's bloody good stuff. Good for, you know, when you're tapping holes, drilling holes, whatever it is. It saves your drill bits tremendously. But, you know, the drill bits I was using, man, they were sharp. They were just straight through that 25mm plate. I was very impressed. But no, Connor, you're not wrong. I should have used cutting fluid on that. I didn't have any cutting oil. I didn't have any. Simon, love the Mrs. Mechanic's reaction when you hit the water pipe, just like normal service. Yeah, well, I was a bit gutted I cut through the water pipe, to be fair, but we got it fixed pretty quick. Roger Heaps, the dogs have been very friendly this last week or so. Might be very friendly, that kind of friendly. Right, okay. Might be some puppies. Well, Mrs. Mechanic has already told me, do not, under any circumstances, come back from Invercargill with a giant dog puppy. Because it won't fit in the house, basically. And it would take up all the sofa, and it would eat all the food. And we probably couldn't even afford to feed it properly. So it's just, you know, it's not going to happen. But yes. Good luck with the puppies, Roger. Thank you. Okay, right. Okay, crew. We're not even an hour in, 50 minutes, short live stream. Andy really needs to crack on. And there really isn't much else to cover at the moment, so I'm not going to waste your time. Wish me luck next week. I'll be doing, in fact, actually, one question before I go. As you know, most of you know, part of my role in my job, day job, is that of what we call new vehicle entry certifier. Okay, now it's a formal role. Every vehicle importer in New Zealand has a nominated member of staff that carries that title, new vehicle entry certifier. So whether it's cars, motorbikes, trucks, doesn't matter. And they are responsible for ensuring everything is done to standard, that vehicles that come into the country and put on the public roads meet compliance. They meet all the standards to go onto the public road, to be registered. The PDIs are all done to manufacturers' standards and to government standards. There's a lot to it. And I was speaking to Pete McPhee, who is the editor of Kiwi Rider magazine. I've known him for years, top bloke. Veggie is his nickname, and he doesn't give a shit. He says it as it is. And I was at a product launch recently for work, and we had a bit of a chat. And I said, "Are you aware of this aspect of the industry?" And he said, "Well, yeah, a little bit, but not really that much." So I went on to explain to him my role under this and all the different aspects that it involves. And for the new vehicles that come in, for each model each year, what we call a statement of compliance has to be produced, which documents what standard the lighting meets, the brakes meet, all the different aspects that are covered that are covered under compliance. I have to state which compliance standard each aspect meets and sign the document off. And that document has to have an actual VIN number of an actual bike from that year and that model, that kind of stuff. And it's a lot of work. So that was one aspect, explaining to him about PDI and the fact that the importer provides, the new vehicle entry certifier provides authority for each dealership to do PDI on behalf, pre-delivery inspection on behalf of the importer. So the government gives the importer permission, and then the importer then propagates that permission out to each of their dealers around the country. And not just to the dealership, for the site, to make the site a PDI site. And again, that application to make it a site is done by the new vehicle entry certifier. They then have to assess each technician to make sure that the technician is up to scratch to do a PDI, because it is the last proper check that vehicle gets before it goes on a public road. Now, the government said to me, "Oh, they go for a warrant of fitness. Don't worry about it. If the warrant of fitness is the last check," but it actually isn't, because a warrant of fitness is just an inspection. It's just a viewing, whereas the PDI, that's where you're tightening bolts to a certain torque. You're setting tire pressures. They don't check tire pressures during the warrant of fitness. So the PDI actually, in my opinion, is far more important than the warrant of fitness. And the government basically hold the new vehicle entry certifier, in this case me, responsible, I've got this on an email, responsible for all actions and inactions by every one of the dealerships that we've given permission to do. Even to the point where if a member of staff at said dealership performs a PDI, pre-delivery inspection, which is the assembly and the checks and the torquing and all, setting the headlight and all that kind of stuff, and the road test, if that's performed by somebody that I haven't given authority to do the PDIs, i.e. they're either a new member of staff or they're not up to scratch, they might be an apprentice, for example, the government will still hold me responsible. That's wrong. And I don't think it'll stand up in a court of law. There's a fundamental part. I'm not a lawyer, right? But I know in law, you can't be held responsible for something that either you can't control or you're not aware of. It's a fact. So if the dealer takes on a new member of staff and fires them through to go and do PDIs on all these new bikes, and they haven't been given authority by the respective importers, the new vehicle entry certifiers and something goes wrong, I don't think the new vehicle entry certifier of that particular brand could be held responsible. So there's a difference of opinion at the moment. And my question to you, and I know I've been rambling on and I've said I was going to go, but this is an important aspect. And I think it's an aspect that I don't think much of the public know about. Would you like me to do a video on covering the responsibilities of a new vehicle entry certifier? And I can do that because I don't have to mention any brands. I can do it through my experience of doing that role for 8.5 years. Let me know if you think it'd be interesting. Then I'll come into the workshop one evening. We'll get the camera fired up. I'll bring in a couple of bottles of cider and we'll run through it. And I'll try and put a few examples of stuff into the video as well. It won't be one of these super duper graphic videos because I don't do that kind of stuff. But I'm happy to talk about it. I think it's a very important role which the vast majority of people are completely unaware of. And the majority of management within these importers are oblivious to the amount of work that's involved and the responsibilities that are carried. And the last point is there is a personal responsibility. Imagine a scenario. The new vehicle entry certifier has given, they've made the assessment of this technician. And based on the information provided, their qualifications, their experience, that new vehicle entry certifier has agreed to give them authority to do PDI on that brand. A few months pass, bike's been PDI'd by that particular technician. It goes on the road and maybe they've forgotten to tighten the caliper bolts on one of the front calipers. And the caliper comes off and it causes an accident. And the rider, unfortunately, worst case scenario, is killed. Very sad situation, but it can happen, right? There's a potential for it to happen. So potentially there is, in this someone is always to blame culture that we live in now, and potentially rightly so, somebody in that chain is up for manslaughter. Is it going to be the technician? Is it going to be the service manager? Is it going to be the dealer principal? Is it going to be the new vehicle entry certifier? Or further up the food chain, is it the general manager of the importers? That's for the courts to decide. Obviously, if you are found guilty of manslaughter, it comes with it, again, potentially a prison sentence. So, yes, it's pretty severe. You might think I'm exaggerating. I'm not. I read a document recently for the warrant of fitness, that this is like an MOT in the UK. There were 2 inspectors here in New Zealand which were found to be breaking the rules. They were just basically signing off warrant of fitness without doing the proper inspection, and they both went to jail for that. That's how serious it is. The government took them to court and put them in jail because they weren't following the rules, putting people's lives at risk by issuing these warrant of fitnesses without actually inspecting the vehicle properly. So I don't think I'm exaggerating at all. And yes, I believe there is potentially, not all the time, but there is a risk, a personal risk with the new vehicle entry certifier role for each importers. And I take it very, very seriously. An average importer, there might be 40 odd dealerships around the country. There might be 3 technicians on average at each dealership. That's 120 technicians, maybe 100 of them are authorized for PDI. And it's another part of the role is for the new vehicle entry certifier that's given these techs authority to do PDI, to keep track of all these technicians and where they are. And if one moves from one dealership, If it leaves that brand and goes to work for a different business, then they have to terminate their authority for the brand that they were given. There's a lot of paperwork involved. You've got to notify the government to say that they've left. If a new technician comes in, you've got to notify the government that they've come in. If you're giving them authority, you've got to email and notify the government that you're giving them authority. If they haven't ever done PDI before, you've got to get them set up for PDI. If it's a new dealership, you've got to get the site set up for PDI. There's a lot of work involved, and a big spreadsheet with all these technicians and what they're all doing and who they're working for and their current status. So yes, if you're keen, I know a lot about it now. I'll happily do a video. It might be helpful to other people that are thinking to take on the role in the future, and they would probably run a mile, to be honest. Anyway, that's for them to decide, not me. Where do we get to? There we go. Roger Heaps, the dogs. Oh, yes, to that one. Simon Roll. They are not puppies. They are mini horses. They might as well be. They're huge. Simon, sounds interesting. Thank you. John Nuttall. That would be good, but would that only relate to New Zealand? Probably. Although there will be similar roles, certainly for all Western countries. I mean, manufacturers have to declare that vehicles meet the standards of that country. I've come across similar documents. They don't call it a statement of compliance. Statement of conformity, I think it is for the US. I've got an example document somewhere that I can bring up on and put it in the video somewhere. But yes, there's going to be, it might be a slightly different job title, a slightly different role, but in the main, there's the same responsibility. However, in Australia, it's totally different. The statement of compliance document doesn't exist. It's done online. You go in, you fill in the screen, you put an example in. I mean, it's basically doing the same thing where you're declaring that the vehicle meets those standards. In Australia, the government don't get involved in PDI. It's only the manufacturer. Now, it sounds confusing, right? Because take Ford, for example. So Ford cars, Ford, the manufacturer, have a process that must be followed for the pre-delivery inspection of that Ford Fiesta, right? They've got to tighten the wheel nuts up to a certain torque, tire pressures, headlight adjustment, maybe some module updates, whatever. That's their process for PDI. The government also have some standards that need to be fulfilled. You've got to complete a PDI check sheet, whether it's digital or paper, it makes no difference. As long as it's kept, it's a legal document, 7 years, can't destroy it, got to keep it on site. And the PDI can only be performed by staff that have been approved by the importer, authorized by the importer. So yeah, it's quite involved, to be honest. And I would say that most days at work, I have something to do with PDI. It encroaches that much on my normal duties. It's significant, and it's getting more significant. The government, during COVID, a lot of PDI inspectors left the industry. They just disappeared. Nobody told anybody. The government wasn't advised that they'd left employment. Their authority wasn't immediately terminated. Other staff started at dealerships. The dealerships weren't telling people that they got these new staff. They were just doing PDIs, using somebody else's login on the system, completely illegal. All this kind of stuff had to be reeled in. It was completely unacceptable. If you're found to be using somebody else's login to the what they call the VIC portal now, Vehicle Inspection Portal, I believe it's called. It has changed recently. It was called I used to call it NZTA portal, but I believe it's called the VIC portal now. You log in. If you use somebody else's login, that's fraud. You're in big trouble. probably going to go to jail. It's that stringent now. So, and to get a login for the Vic portal, you have to have a Realme account. So for a lot of technicians that haven't got Realme accounts, they've got to go through the whole process of getting a Realme account before they can even log in. There's a lot, and then they ring. I can't get. I've got a problem with a Realme account. I don't do Realme accounts. I can't help you. Speak to the Realme people. It's a pain. It's a real pain. But anyway, let me have a think about it. It's not going to happen next week, but it's something which I think I'll have to make some notes to try and put it forward to on the video in a logical order, because there's quite a lot to unpack. Simon, I fail to see how someone who has not been given authority and does a PDI, how someone outside that dealership can be held responsible. Right. So the government, NZTA, will not, and again, I've got emails to substantiate this, will not take any direct action with a dealership. Okay? The rebuttal is the new vehicle entry certifier gave them authority to do PDI. It's your problem and your responsibility. So irrespective of what the staff at the dealership do, anything that they do wrong, actions or inactions, the new vehicle entry certifier is held directly responsible. Very difficult situation to be in. It really is, because, you want to do things 100%, right? 100% compliance, do things right across the network. And it's just not possible because you're not at every dealership every day. You are relying on trust. You're relying on the dealer principal, the owner of the business, who signed a contract to get this authority to do what he promises he will do. Unfortunately, and I've seen this many, many times, not just in my current role, but when I was at the coalface, where I was a PDI inspector and worked with other PDI inspectors, the pre-delivery inspection by some businesses, I'm not going to name any names, is seen purely as a hurdle, as an obstacle, as an obstruction to getting the bikes, the cars out the door and getting the sale, do the delivery. In completely the wrong attitude to take. The PDI is so important. It's the responsibility of putting a brand new vehicle onto a public road. If something wasn't done correctly, there could be serious repercussions. And the bad press against the brand as well would be horrific. Heads would roll. It's got to be right. And if it's not right, and they're not prepared to do it right, have retraining, whatever. And the government, when they do their audits, which they do every 1 to 2 years, depending on how well you scored the last time, they have the ability, the government has the ability to withdraw permission to the importer to do PDIs. Now, if that was to happen, the whole network that importer's given permission to would collapse, and none of those dealerships will be able to do pre-delivery inspections, and basically wouldn't be able to sell new vehicles anymore. That's how serious this is. It has to be right. So therefore, obviously an importer can't afford to take that risk. That would be pretty significantly bad for the business. If the new vehicle entry certifier deems a particular dealership that they've given permission to isn't able to meet compliance standards, or unwilling to, or not prepared to do retraining, or whatever it is, the only option is to remove the permission to that one dealership, to protect the rest of the network. Make sense? Purely logical to me. Anyway, but yes, I'll do you a video, but just not today. I need to do a bit of planning first because it's quite involved. Now, where do we get to? Corner K. Although the entry checks and requirements would vary depending on the country, correct, importing, it would be interesting. It would definitely vary, although I think the variations nowadays are a lot less than they were previously, because you know, most cars nowadays, the requirements, the standards that cars are built to, and we're talking Western countries, right, are very, very similar now across the globe. There's a lot less specifics, you know, for Europe, for England, for the US. Obviously, steering wheels on the wrong side, that kind of thing. But, you know, glazing, lighting, they're all pretty much acceptable now across all countries. I mean, often vehicles that are originally designed for one country due to market forces, dropping sales, whatever, will get diverted to other countries and sold there. So the only way to really facilitate that is for the standards to be pretty much the same across all countries. You know, you can't be pulling out headlights all the time and changing those just because you've sold them in a different country. So yeah, it's getting easier and easier. So I think the video would be quite relevant. If nothing else, it would help me in my job because the people that I work with and provide authority to would be able to watch the video and actually understand what's really going on and understand. It might just make it click, you know. Oh yeah, that's actually quite important, Andy. Yes, it is. Very important. And there'll be a revelation in that video as well, by the way. Anyway, not to worry. Jim K. I feel like I missed a lot. Damned internet. Sorry, Jim. John Nuttall. If that is the case, you need public liability insurance provided with a large wage from your employer in the event of a fail to comply. It's covered. It's called covering your ass. Exactly that. Exactly that. It carries a very high responsibility. I've done it for 8.5 years. The last thing I'm going to say will be in that video. And you've got a stern look then. You've got a stern look for a reason because this is serious shit, right? Simon, yes, in the UK, I can go online now and order a Chinese bike in a crate with a logbook. Crazy, I know. I don't know much about the PDI requirements of the UK. I mean, we used to have a dealership. I mean, I wish I could ask Dad, but he's not around anymore. We used to have a Nissan dealership, then it was Renault. We sold a lot of new cars. Those cars did go through a pre-delivery inspection. I know that. I remember that as a kid. Were they filling out sheets? Did they have to go? I mean, they wouldn't have gone online to record the PDI. Maybe they just posted the sheet to a government office somewhere, to Swansea or whatever, DVLA. I just don't know. I wasn't involved in that in the UK. Obviously, it'll change now. It'll all be online. Maybe Simon, maybe you could find out what's going on in the UK regarding PDI. I'm pretty confident there will be a requirement similar to New Zealand. Be interesting to find out. Okay, that's about it. That was a 25-minute rant on new vehicle entry certifier requirements and PDI. What the hell, Andy? You said you were going to go. Okay, I'm getting really hungry. Mrs. Mechanic hasn't brought me any breakfast or an iced coffee, so I'm going to go and sort that out. Thank you. Only deal with one main dealer. Okay. Well, one's enough. If they sell new vehicles, it'll be whatever they have to adhere to will be standard practice across the whole country. Thank you, Simon. Appreciate that. If you can get a photo of a PDI check sheet or whatever, be great. Normally, actually, with a new car, you would get a copy of the PDI check sheet. It should be in with the handbook. That's what we do here in New Zealand, and it proves to the customer it's had the formal pre-delivery inspection done. So maybe that might be something that you can get hold of. We can blank out the VIN number and stuff, you know. Okay, right, I've got to go. Work to do. Thank you very much for your time and for all the support that you give the channel. And my apologies, there was no pie today. Although I do feel slightly more healthy. See you next time. Cheers, crew. Over and out.